What's up, guys? When is the last time you reevaluated your priorities and interests in your life? This is the Yepcast. Let's go. This is the Yepcast, where we're building a tribe of creators, movers, and shakers,
and inspiring young entrepreneurs to learn, think, and support one another. Hey everyone, welcome back to this week's Yepcast. I'm your host, Madeline Martini.
And I'm James Nuveen.
And we're so excited to be back with you another week. And this week we're tackling a huge problem, whether you're college age or middle age or really any age. I think it touches every point of life.
Before we move on to anything else, I first want to address some major changes that Yep is going through currently. We've totally reshifted our goals with the Pivot, our weekly newsletter. And instead of delivering resources and different kinds of content, we're going to instead focus on providing more value in our blog posts and podcast. So we're going to be reducing that newsletter a little bit just to be a kind of a notification system for our podcasts and blogs that we're still going to be putting out at least weekly. So you're still going to get those notifications that we're bringing you new content, which is what we really want to focus on. But it's just not going to be in the longer form that it was in the past few weeks. So it's an exciting change because we get to focus a lot more on preparing for the podcast and writing, which is another one of our really big, fulfilling enjoyments as part of this whole project that we're taking part in.
Now, James and I are going to share some exciting topics we came across this week in the news. Snap just launched visual search. So what does that mean? They are now allowing you to take your phone and you can go up to physical products. So if you see somebody with like super cool Adidas shoes and you're like, I want those, then you just go right up to them. I mean, it's kind of creepy, but then you scan their product and you can get it directly from Amazon.
That's awesome.
So in the past, it's so exciting. So Snapchat really has struggled with monetization in the past. And we get a lot of those like ads now, which I find personally like annoying. And so I think this is the way.
Madeline, who doesn't find those annoying?
I mean, everyone finds them annoying. Yes, that's true. If someone likes ads out there, you're insane.
And after you just said that, Madeline, actually, I'm going to look up the stock price for Snap, and I bet it skyrocketed today. Let's see.
Snap is trading at $8.97 a share after hours on NYSE, down 0.22% from closing.
Guess I'm wrong. Guess not. In other news, relating to another big tech giant out in Silicon Valley, Facebook. The two founders of Instagram who were bought out by Facebook 6 years ago, Kevin Systrom and Mike Krieger, one's a CEO and one's a CTO of Instagram, they have both left the company of Facebook after they were not given enough autonomy in their positions. And this is something we've already talked about a lot on the Yepcast. If you're not getting meaningful work out of your position, it's time to leave. And that's exactly what they did. They made, I think, they had 13 employees. Instagram had 13 employees by the time they were bought for $1 billion by Facebook 6 years ago. So they split that among 13 people. So they're set money-wise. But they wanted to work on this project because this was their passion. This is what they want to do for the rest of their life. And they can't anymore because Facebook has run them into the ground and they have no more responsibility, no more autonomy, no more respect at Facebook headquarters. And that's why they are out.
Facebook, in my opinion, is kind of dead. Like, they're gone. They had a lot of privacy stuff. We know all about that Cambridge Analytica thing.
Mm-hmm.
That was like the beginning of the end.
Yeah.
So it's interesting and not super surprising that they're leaving.
Agreed.
So I think those guys have a lot in their future. So we'll see what they turn out next.
Yeah. Excited to see it. Now to our tape. All right, guys, humor me for a second. During finals week, you're sitting in the library, you're studying your ass off, you want to get all A's on all of your exams to bring up all your scores to A minuses or B pluses or to keep that A that you have currently. But because you're studying so hard and because you're working so hard on school, you're missing out on a lot of social functions. You're not going to the gym. You're not eating well. What are you sacrificing? This week on the Yepcast, we are talking all about striking a balance. Striking a balance with all of your different priorities and finding the sweet spot in each one.
Exactly. So I think in those times of stress, we turn to the things that are most urgent, and we turn to studying for those finals, or if you're a working professional, like working on those projects that like your boss is like, I need these today. Or if it's your own business, then like, what is your company going to die tomorrow? Like if you don't do, and then you lose sight of sleep. Like that's one thing for me, I know that goes first is sleep, working out, eating healthy, and cleanliness. And those are like your foundational things. So for you, James, what are your like foundational things that like you always have in your schedule or you lose focus? Because that's like, I like to think of it as a Maslow's hierarchy of needs, almost like your personal balance. Like in your first level is that like, are you like nourished? Is your body like fed right? Because if you're not feeding your engine the right way, or like maintaining and working out, and like you're not going to have energy to do those things that get you up the pyramid. So what are some of your things that are like that base layer that you'd recommend a lot of people incorporating to set your foundation?
Well, Madeline, I think throughout our lives, all these priorities are going to shift and change as we approach new experiences and figure out why we're so interested in some things and some not. But right now, for me, I think that obviously my physical health and my mental health, not so much in the common sense that people talk about it now, mental health, but the sense that I need to keep learning. So my physical health is very important to me. I need to be running almost every day or going to the gym, working out. And then also I need to be learning. Right now I'm lucky to be in school and learning a lot, but that also doesn't satisfy all the stuff that I need to learn about the entrepreneurial world and the startup world. Because I'm not involved in all these entrepreneurship classes. I don't have that tool to keep me interested in all this stuff. So I have to go out on my own volition and research all about the startup world and remain interested. So I think that takes up a lot of my time. And that's definitely a priority for me, along with my physical health. As a whole, I kind of prepared for this episode and graphed out what my pie graph of priorities looks like. And while I'm in school, it's almost October 2018, and I'm in school the fall semester. So obviously school is a very high priority for me. It's about 30%, I would say, of my energy goes towards school. Second would probably be Yep. Malin knows this. I put a lot of time into what we're trying to build here, and she does as well. She probably puts in more than I do. I would say after that would be social, which is about 20% of my energy. I need to be around people all the time. And I'm an extreme extrovert. Madeline knows this. I'm an extreme extrovert, and I love being around people. I love talking to people. I love hearing different perspectives from all over the world, whether they be virtual or whether they be in person. I just love hanging out with people. And then for the last 25%, I would consider those two, physical and mental health. Say 15% of it is probably my health, eating well, moving, and that kind of filters into exercising my brain as well. And that's the last 10%, learning. I think before we move on, I think it's really important for all of our Yep Tribe members to really delve into your current life and focus on what is a priority to you. And then you can go from there and figure out how to balance all of these different things, because some of them deserve a lot more attention than others.
Yeah, and I think what James did before this episode, so like he said, he assigned percentages to everything, which is super cool. And I want to do this exercise myself, actually. Like, and maybe you can share your notes. I'm sure James would share this online on Twitter or our social platforms after. But draw out like a pie chart, like study where you're spending your time, like each week, just kind of keep track, like how much am I spending on homework? How much am I at work, at the office? When am I at the gym? And like, then you can divvy out and see where your life is actually falling, what buckets, and then what buckets you can make room for, or like if you're spending too much time at school, like how can you optimize that? Mm-hmm. And that's the way you build and learn from there. So I think that's an amazing exercise that you did. And I think everyone should do it. I'm excited to try it too.
Exactly, Madeline. And in the end, all of this comes down to being a happy person. Are you a happy person right now with the current habits that you have? And if not, shift them. Draw out this pie graph and decide what you need to focus on to make yourself a happier person. Because who would want to go through life being miserable? It's just stupid.
That sucks. Yeah, that would suck. I think the one thing too is, and honestly, to be totally transparent and honest with everyone in the tribe, I felt this a lot recently, especially with just being a recent grad and now starting Yep and adding new things to my schedule. I used to be someone who was so scheduled and like very organized, and now all these new things have kind of made me have to reevaluate things. So, and I didn't really take the time in the beginning to do like how James maps this out in his life. I didn't take the time to do that, and it hurts you in the end. So yes, it might be a time suck like in the middle of finals to be like, what will my schedule look like this week? But really in the end, it pays off because you'll be so much happier, you'll be healthier. And if you're not sleeping, if you're not working out, like you can't be successful in the other things you do. So
yeah, exactly.
Getting your schedule down is so crucial.
When I was researching for this, Madeline, I noticed that a lot of people started narrowing down their priorities to like broad categories, kind of like Maslow's hierarchy of needs. But there are 5 of them, and they are purpose. These are like the 5 elements of well-being: purpose, social, financial, community, and physical. And the research behind all of these concludes that less than 5% of us, millennials, are thriving in all 5 of these categories. So fewer than 1 in 20 of us are well in all these 5 different elements. That's really sad. That's really, really sad. So what can we do to kind of shift ourselves into balancing all these different priorities? I don't know. Maybe some of these elements you're not so much focused on. Like for some of us right now, financial issues may not be a huge issue. If you have an overflux of cash in your bank account, maybe financial is not a big worry to you, the financial element. So you divert a lot of your energy to focusing on the other 4 elements of well-being. And that's just you. That doesn't necessarily mean that works for everyone, because I'm for sure worried about my financial situation.
I think it's such a unique formula. Like that's a great way to look at it, into those 5 buckets. And then your own formula is totally unique to you and what you need as a person. So James mentioned like he's so social and he's an extrovert, and I'm the same way, but I'm sure many of you out there, you might need time actually alone to recharge. And that's so important as well. I don't think we can talk about balance without talking about alone time.
That's actually really funny, Madeline, that you brought that up, because my girlfriend sent me an article the other day about solitary time, alone time, and how important that is to our mental health as well as just our soul. It's just so important to spend some time alone and thinking for yourself and reflecting on your day or your week or your month or just a class or a presentation. Like, how could I make myself a better person? You can't really do that when you're at a bar or on the dance floor getting hammered. It just doesn't work. So you need those alone times where you sit in a corner in your room, maybe cry a little, maybe pout a little, but you're making yourself a better person in that process.
Yeah, that's true. Without like thinking about those things, you can never improve. And I feel like that, not to get into the whole millennial generation thing, but also I think that's a big part of this. And a lot of our young entrepreneurs out there do fall into millennials. And I think we have this constant pressure to go, and we're fast, and everything with tech like now speeds things up. So there really isn't a lot of time for you anymore. You're expected to have this high level of excellence, and that's like, and at the end of the day, it's I don't know, it's just crazy expectations, and in that you lose yourself. And I think that's happened to me so many times that like I'm trying to meet all these expectations that I set myself, and like my family and my friends and everyone views this for you, and then I don't know, at the end of the day you have to tune into yourself. So one thing I adopted in my college years, and this like changed how I acted and everything, was meditation.
Boom.
It sounds frou-frou and spiritual, but like I really recommend it. Like download Headspace, it's free, or like anything else, like even just taking 10 minutes in absolute silence, because we don't get that anymore. That helped me immensely. I would strongly recommend it.
I think a good formula for striking this right balance that both Madeline and I have been talking about is first, setting your priorities. Second, weighing them out. Like, what comes above what? Does school come above your side hustle? Does the gym come above your social life? I don't know, but it's going to be unique to you. So that's why I don't know. It's going to be unique to you. Don't let anybody influence this. So set your priorities, weigh them out, allocate these different percentages wherever they may lie. Focus on what categories you need to focus your energy on. Third, let it flow. I think just let everything go. For a week, just do what you've been doing forever. Just roll with the punches, let it go, let it flow. And after that week, check back and reevaluate how these different priorities and interests aligned. Because if they're not right, if you're spending too much time on your social life, or if you're spending too much time in school, which is probably true, reevaluate those percentages and allocate those different energy levels elsewhere. And that's how you do it, I really think. So just repeat that process of letting it flow, and then after that week, reevaluating all your energy levels and refocusing them on different categories to like make yourself a better and happier person, because that's the ultimate goal. Work-life balance, Madeline, you're living it. 59% of us, millennials, want their career to support their lifestyle. What are your thoughts on that?
I actually don't believe in work-life balance. Our co-founder preaches this. She says work and life balance, that shouldn't be a line. That should be blurred, because you bring your whole self to work. You can't not be yourself at work. And if you aren't being yourself at work, you're not doing your best job and bringing your perspective. You lose everything in that. So that's my biggest kind of thing. Like, I think every millennial should be able to have that. Every person should be able to have that, not just in our generation. And I think it's great that our generation's finally caring about it, because it's critical. Like, my work is so supportive of me in every aspect of my life. If I want to like work out and they know I have a yoga class at a certain time, like I'm allowed to go to that. Like, even if it's at 8 a.m. and I might get in 15 minutes after 9 or whatever. And that's an amazing feeling. So, and obviously if you're an entrepreneur, that is even more. Like, your work and your life that's everything. Your work is your life, especially. And I think as an entrepreneur, and I can't fully speak to this because I do work a full-time job as well, and we do Yep on the side, but for me, like, this is my life as well. So I think you have to really find time for you and carve that out. So just definitely when you're job searching or in your career, be aware of that. And then if you're an entrepreneur, you have to be hyper aware, I think.
Exactly. I totally agree.
What's your take on that too, from your experiences in internships in school and Yep? How have you found like the balance between your personal and your professional?
After working in the startup world, I really feel like it's not so much a work-life balance, like you said, but it's more like a work-life harmony. So your work is part of your life. It's not a zero-sum game where if you spend more time at work, you will have less life. That's not a thing, and no one thinks that's a thing, but that's how people are thinking about it. And if you spend more time in life, that doesn't mean you're spending less time in work. You want your work and life to be intertwined, especially if you have a really sweet job that you enjoy going to, and it's more of a space rather than a place. Like, if it's a space for you to gather with your employees who you love and who you get value from every single day, if you enjoy being around them, I think of that as being more of a space than a place where you have to go. Like, I hear people say, I have to go to work all the time, and they're all bummed out as they pout out the door and walk down the street with their head hung down. But work should not be looked at like that. And if you hate your job, leave. Leave. Just do it. Here's another stat. 42% of millennials are inclined to check in with work when they're on vacation. I think that is awesome. I think that is so awesome. Because we're all about control, are we not? I am a
That's so
control
true.
freak, and that's why I'm an entrepreneur. Because I want to be in charge of everything that I do. I want the autonomy. I want the respect from others that I can do my own projects. And when I'm not doing my own projects, or if I'm not providing value and somehow all by myself, I feel disappointed in myself. So I totally believe that 42% of millennials check in with their work when they're on vacation because they don't have control over it. So they want to see how it's progressing. They want to see what's going on. And I think that's really indicative of our, not only our entrepreneurial culture, but us millennials as a generation.
Absolutely. I'm kind of surprised that number's not even higher. And I know from my personal experience, that's how I am. And my parents get furious when I'm on vacation with our family or with friends. They're like, oh my God, just stop working or stop checking Slack. I'm obsessed with Slack. And I can't. Like, it's something in you. And I think that's a huge thing with entrepreneurs, that more than any other group. And then I know James is the same exact way as me. When I remember when we were on Christmas break last year, or you were on Christmas break with school, and a few of us were still at Circle because just with our schedules and stuff, you literally every hour, we thought that was hilarious. You would be like, what's going on? How's the company and everything? And I don't know. I think it speaks volumes. Like, our generation is definitely different in this, like that, because our work has meaning. I think that's what comes down to it all. And back to balance.
Yeah,
like,
I feel valued. I feel
Yeah.
like a valued piece of that company that I was working for. And because
Yeah.
of that, I felt inclined to check in because it was my work. It was literally mine.
Yeah. And because that's part of your life. And like that, to circle it all back to balance, like it is part of your life. Like James said, it's harmonious. It shouldn't be separate. There's no lines. Like if you let it blur, you bring your whole self to work, and that's how you achieve balance. And you bring your whole self to your company too. You can't hide any of that. So.
And I think this illustrates also a shift from our current economy of more corporate jobs to an economy of straight entrepreneurialism and freelancing, because that's where we're going, people. People say machines are taking over all the time, and nobody can argue that they aren't, because they are. But in that, we have so many opportunities to freelance. What can humans do that robots can't? Right now, it's a lot of emotional intelligence, and that's something that AI and machines cannot provide that humans can. So in this freelancing market that we're shifting toward, everybody will be able to control their own work and be flexible in their own hours and be flexible in their own places. We won't have physical locations. Okay, I'm getting off on a little tangent, but you get what I'm saying. We want the control over our own work, our own lives, and you have the control to balance all of these different priorities. Is work a priority to you? I hope it is, because you should be happy in what you're doing at work. It's a huge part of your life if you want to make money and not live in a box.
How can you do this? We've talked about that you need balance and strategies to get there, but we haven't given you actionable tools. So here are a few things in our tool bucket that we use on a daily basis to achieve our balance. Tools that James and I use every single day in our life to help us achieve balance are Trello and Google Calendar.
Big Trello guy over here.
Yeah, you're a huge Trello guy. I wasn't really familiar with Trello before I met James, but if you don't know it, check it out. And they have awesome templates to get you started. And honestly, I think either of us would feel comfortable sharing. I would share my personal board. I'm sure James already has. It's in screenshots on our blog. So check it out, and you can see kind of how we structure our lives. And then same with Google Calendar. One of my best practice kind of things is that I color code my calendar, which sounds so nerdy, but everything revolving around health is green. Everything around social is pink. Everything in my life has a color. So those 5 buckets that James talked about, purpose, social, financial, community, physical, I would put all that on your calendar, because how I view everything is if you don't schedule it, it doesn't happen. And that's how I live my life. And I think to really achieve balance, you have to be organized. So definitely use these tools and some of the things James talked about with the pie charts, and you should be in good shape. And share these on Twitter too. We'd love to get the community talking and going.
For the Rep Tribe who isn't as organized as Madeline is, and for the people who don't plan their lives out 20 months in advance like Madeline does, that's not a bad thing. That's just how she is. I have a system for you because this is what I do. Like I said before, I use these 5 steps and a pie chart to really illustrate my priorities. And I'm constantly reevaluating them to make sure I'm doing what I said I would do, and to make sure all those things that I'm doing are leading up to something beautiful and achieving. So again, I would draw out a pie chart. You guys know what a pie chart is. You're in college, or at least you should know. And divide that pie chart into all of your different priorities. Maybe there are 5, maybe there are 8, maybe there are 11. Whoa! But set those priorities, weigh them out, see which ones are the largest, see which ones are the smallest. Do you like it? Are you spending enough time in your social life? Because in college you should be. You really should be. Build your network, meet a lot of people, because a lot of those connections are going to be really important later in life. But anyway, let it flow for a week. Just do whatever you normally do and check back to your pie graph after that. This is step 4. Check back and reevaluate everything you're doing. If you're not spending enough time in this social life that I was just talking about, spend more time in it. Go out on that Friday night that you maybe should have last week. Meet more people at this organizational meeting. So again, after you reevaluate all these different priorities, let it flow. Let it flow for a week. And if, again, you're not achieving all these goals that you set in your head on this pie chart, reevaluate again and divert your energy into different buckets in order to make yourself a better and happier person and more successful down the line. Cool? All right. Good job, guys.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for listening, you guys. As always, drop us a note, team@helloyep.com. We'll get back to you within a couple hours. We can't wait to hear from you, and have an amazing week.
Peace.